News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth with darkhookmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian. Joe, looking at you. It's
Talk
about
to me.
time you do this.
Okay.
National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day.
Oh. Don't look at me that way, Max. So, okay. Somebody, you know this was invented by a housewife, right? She looking at her husband. It's like, are you ever going to get rid of that old,
Actually, I
4-year-old
think
salami or
I
something?
think packaging companies had something to do with this.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay. I thought it was a wife, finally getting fed up or something. So, National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. Okay, that sounds pretty good. I mean, who can argue with that?
Same thing with National Recycling Day. Now, Allan, this is one you can't argue with either. It's National Bunt Day.
Wait, what?
Bunt.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that in the slightest. I will celebrate that day.
No bunts about it.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's not bunt like in baseball. It's a bunt cake.
Like as in cake, baby.
We're not celebrating a cowardly move in baseball.
Hey, wait. Max, that's a very strategic play. So, okay. Well, lots of activity on the table, though. So clean out your refrigerator and fill it with bunt cakes, I suppose,
Absolutely.
afterwards.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of food, shortly we've got Allan's turkey tips just in time for Thanksgiving. Allan, I was talking to you off the air, and well, let's just say you have sort of unconventional approaches for dealing with a frozen turkey situation.
I have been called into any number of, we'll call them festive emergencies.
Okay.
That's the title of today's show.
Festive Emergencies is a good name for a band. Gosh, that's pretty good stuff, man. So, all right, well, speaking of this, I feel like there is going to be a theme today that is going to be somewhat subterranean because in Allan's Week in Review, you were dealing with a basement.
I am.
Okay. Well, on that same note, I have a Critter Wars that involves a basement and a cat that a friend of my wife's had an issue, and it's like it just goes to show you think you know, but you never know.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
And also we have I have sort of I guess I'm going to call this a tool tale / on-air confession / partial fail when it comes to a concrete repair I was doing this week. So I'm happy to admit my mistakes. I'll do that on the air here.
Okay.
So we have we teased this last week. I had a really good remodeling project done at my own house. It was interesting to see things from the other side. I was actually the customer this time, and I thought it was a good opportunity to showcase good quality business practices for contractors because these guys did a really good job, and I paid attention. They took care. There's a lot of finesse that goes into doing a home improvement project well, and I was really happy with what they did. And then one more thing, I've got a call to action. This is kind of a call to action / tool tale involving the ethics of pets and contracting work. How do you like that?
Okay.
It'll unfold as I describe this.
I'm intrigued.
Okay, and there's more, and we're not gonna mention it because we may never get to it. So, and we'd also love to hear from you on the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline 901-683-0989. Sorry, I forgot one more thing, Allan. I buried the lead. In our great moments in building history, we're going instead of celebrating an actual structure or structures, we're going to celebrate a visionary architect who basically was ahead of his time, and he put his work down on paper and he drew these things, but he didn't actually build these things.
Kind of a Da Vinci-esque type thing. Okay.
Étienne-Louis Boullée. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation.
Étienne-Louis Boullée.
Okay, it's close enough.
Close enough.
Boullée.
One of those tricky pronunciations. So, okay. But before we get to any of those things, let's get to our must-have items of the week, which Allan brought in. And Allan, what do you got for us today?
That is the grab pack of things that grab.
Okay, that's the official branding on that.
Yeah, that's going to be the official branding on that. Actually, I used every single thing in that pile yesterday.
That pile looks like it doesn't cost more than $10 too.
No. There's $5 worth of junk.
It's on our Facebook page, but hey, all of it looks mission critical when you need it.
It is. One is a really good set of chip clips.
Yeah,
Because
it's funny you say that.
Yeah, they are exactly that. They are a really good set of chip clips because there is always two things you have got to hold together.
Yeah.
A couple of wires, maybe you're matching up some paper or you're lining something up. There is always something where you got to hold something together. And
it's that extra
next to
set
that,
of hands.
Yeah, next to that is, of course, my telescoping of magnetic grab.
It's like the size of a pen, and it extends out,
sits in
about
your
3
pocket,
feet or
and
something.
that thing, a good 3 foot.
Yeah.
Lets you, because, it is a zoning ordinance. Anytime you're doing something, that you got to drop one screw.
Especially if you're working on a car. Max,
Absolutely.
you always drop screws when you're working on your car, right?
Exactly. I was going to say that this whole quote of the idea of like simple tools that only cost you like $10.
Yeah.
It's like it like moves like it literally builds houses. It makes me think of the Archimedes quote where he's like, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world."
There you go.
Easily.
He's not wrong.
And
So,
then
there
my
you go.
favorite one of those three, the twist and grab.
You're going to have to describe this, Alan.
All right. It is basically a rubber-coated piece of aluminum that would have in an earlier age, been part of your outdoor dryer, a.k.a. your clothesline.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it is a very flexible aluminum core covered with a plastic. Now, this particular one has a latch and hook attachment to it.
Yeah.
And, I call these on the job site, I call them squiddies.
Squiddy. Okay, I
They're
was wondering when you
squiddies.
talked about squids before. I didn't know what you were talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking about squiddies because they're basically arms that wrap around things and hold tight. So you're trying to get that light in just the right spot, over, under, behind. As a matter of fact, this was over, under, and behind a huge refrigerator yesterday.
Yeah.
And it wrapped around the little back coil in a piece of wire, and I had the light dangling from it, had everything all secure. And I had to fish out of the wall at that point a small connector that an assistant had dropped behind.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm in there doing my version of the crane game at the fair. And, sure enough, dink, found it out of there, put everything back together. Everything was fabulous. And everybody was giggling that I had all that junk just laying in my car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that's laying in my car because it's got to be there. So,
It's funny because in my younger days, whenever, when I was an up-and-coming contractor, I looked for any excuse to buy, the best tool or the premium such and such.
Oh, yeah.
These days, I'm much more inclined to go to the dollar store or just go to something and go, I just need this little simple thing. And I don't care how pretty it is. I don't care, but it'll get the job done. Like, for these random things like that. So,
I have in my toolbox, I'll bring it in one of these days. It's just a standard set of wire snips. But about 30 years ago, somebody had made a collection of tools in hot pink.
Okay.
And
was it for like breast cancer or something?
Yeah, it was one of the big pushes.
Okay.
And I bought the wire snips. And Pinky has been in my toolbox for 30 years, still does a beautiful job.
There you go.
But you know what? You can always find it and nobody steals it.
Yeah, nobody wants Pinky, so.
Is his
Until they're trying to cut some wire.
Is his brother named the Brain?
Yeah, well.
There you go. So.
I was going to say, like, this whole thing makes me think of, like, as you mature as a contractor, your tools become more simplistic. It reminds me, Alan, of this thing you talked about one time where when you go camping, you start off your experience having like this big backpack of everything, but as you get more wise, you bring fewer items.
That's probably true. Yeah.
Oh, man, you can always tell the beginning hiker camper from the person that's been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah.
Because the person been doing it for 10 years has got like a pocket knife, a walking stick, and a bedroll.
There you go.
And that's, minimal stuff. The new one, man, they got fish trackers, deer signals, lights, whistles, bell. No, you're going to throw all that junk away by the time you get done with this hike.
Worn out by the time we get up to the top.
Yeah, you're carrying too much weight, man.
Yeah. think they had a scene like that in Platoon. They lectured them about that too. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay.
All right, but anyway, well, I think that was one of the first things. Charlie Sheen's carrying like books and all this other, and they're like, okay, you're going to be wiped out by the time we get to the battle.
Yeah, you're not going to get there.
So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, so that's good stuff. I think there's something there about that. I think that's a good practice to don't overlook the simple items in there. So, okay, I hope I have time to set this up. Well, no, actually, we probably got to get to Allan's turkey tips. Now, Allan, let's not do this. We got to tease this appropriately before the break. But I was listening to the morning show the other day, and they were talking about defrosting turkeys. And the more I listened, the less it made me ever want to get involved with a turkey, because they said, well, for one thing, if it's too frozen, it won't be ready by Thanksgiving. If it's not frozen enough, you risk salmonella. You have to defrost it this particular way. It sounds like, it does not sound like anything I want to get involved in. It sounds very, very dangerous if you don't do it correctly. But you have a way to, you have your own ideas for
I have
dealing with defrosting
circumvented those
a turkey.
rules upon occasion, yes.
And we're going to find out how he did it when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Rather menacing. Sounds like a Halloween stinger, Max. But anyway, welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, well, I mean, what are we, a week and a half? How far away are we? About a week and a half away from Thanksgiving.
Impending.
And Allan, people are, we know that there's a lot of turkeys being prepared, but I mean, actually, you gave me some statistics that I was sort of stunned by.
Well, on an average in the United States, we raise about 210 million turkeys a year, of which 46 million are hitting the plate in one day.
Hitting the plate, okay. Well, like I said before the break, when I was listening to, because I'm not a cook, and I mean, okay, I can do a few things, but the thing is, chicken and poultry's always, and like pork, because apparently if you don't cook it perfectly, you risk, well, for one thing, you either dry it out and ruin it, or you risk, if it's undercooked, food poisoning and stuff like that, right? And then you're talking about a bird that could be 18 or 20 pounds, frozen solid, and now you got to defrost it properly. You got to time it out so it's ready for Thanksgiving. It sounds dicey to me, man.
Well, welcome to kitchen ergonomics, man.
Yeah.
This is, all right, this is why there's a health department.
Yeah, this situation is a good reason for
now, here's a shocking little fact for the average homeowner. Your home will not pass a restaurant inspection.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Just bluntly, horribly, your home more than likely would fail heads up.
Right.
Boom. Because, when was the last time you washed the can opener?
Right. Yeah, there you
You
go.
haven't. When was the last time you stored, cleaning substances under your sink? Mm-hmm. See, that's a big no-no in the restaurant business. So restaurants, all right, we're getting into this. We're going to tie it directly to the layout of your kitchen and entertaining.
Okay.
Because we have discussed this many times before. If you're going to be entertaining, there's a certain level of ergonomics to this. You want to get clutter out of the way. Put that doll collection up that's all over the wall that just freaks everybody else out. Move it to a back bedroom. Get yourself the walking room. Give yourself room to entertain. It'll make your life easier, trust me. The big thing also in the kitchen is if you are going to do a big item like a turkey, plan for it now. I know we're a couple of weeks out,
right?
But honestly, plan for it now. Make the space for it in the refrigerator. And I'm also going to tell you, make the space for a little catch pan, either a cookie sheet or something to put under it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to defrost. Now, here's the big thing about foodborne illnesses. It is generally the result of mishandling.
Okay.
So we'll just start there. And it's because of we panic and forget. You know, that turkey is sitting out there in that deep freezer, and that baby is 10 pounds, 5 pounds, 30 pounds, solid all the way through. It is not going to thaw overnight.
Yeah.
Now, the other problem is it's also not going to thaw evenly.
Well, yeah, because the outside's thawing
The
first,
outside
right?
thaws first, and thus the little bacteria that are on it. Yes, I know it's got a plastic wrap on it, but I promise you there's bacteria on it. This is what's going to cause your foodborne illness if you just chuck the turkey in the sink and leave it there for a couple of days trying to defrost this thing. That's not a good idea. So I'm going to agree with every food critic on the planet that tells you make a space in the fridge, get the turkey in there at least 3 days before you're going to cook it.
Okay, but you were telling me you have a unconventional. I was interested in how you incorporate home improvement.
You're going to bring up the
That's what I was waiting for. I'm like, okay,
You buried the lead.
yeah. I mean,
Well,
okay.
I'm not burying the lead. I'm putting in all of the useful advice first before I say something dumb.
Okay, well, all right.
So now you're going to put me in the corner and say something dumb.
All right.
Yeah, on more than one occasion, I have been invited to we'll just call it the festivity emergency, where we forgot to thaw the turkey.
Right.
We forgot to,
You're bailing people out once again.
and, I will say this. There's a time when a reciprocating saw...
This is what I was waiting for.
Kind of what I was waiting for. Too. Yeah.
And that demo blade, the one that cuts through 2x4s and nails.
So
yeah,
that's what okay. So you've used so folks, if you know what some people call it a sawzall or
Right,
whatever, but
right.
you've taken and you've used that to cut a frozen turkey in half.
in half.
Okay,
right,
well,
right
Allan,
down the breast and right down the backbone, because now you can break it apart and get it into pans and get it in the oven.
Okay, what blade did you use? Because there's all different blades. There's
Oh,
some
yeah,
that'll
I
cut
used-
through metal and
Yeah, I used the 9-inch demo blade.
And did you have like a carbide diamond tip, or did you like heat? Did you like light a fire? Did you like light a fire like under it to like sanitize the blade?
Actually, we ran it through the dishwasher.
Oh.
Okay, but Allan, here's the thing. So I thought you said you could also use a pruning blade.
Oh,
which-
yeah, the 12-inch pruning blade, that bad boy will cut through pretty much anything.
Now, it will because I cut down a tree the other day with a pruning
yeah,
blade.
it'll also cut through a frozen brisket.
But the thing about it is, I know you're very selective about the way you cook. Wouldn't that butcher it up? Doesn't it leave a
It's
lot
frozen.
of shards and stuff?
Well, yeah, it's going to make a little carnage. But,
Okay.
the idea is we forgot to take the 30-pound brisket out of the freezer, and now we got to get it into the oven.
Not to beat this into the ground, but here's the thing. Okay, when you use a reciprocating saw, for example, like I said, I cut a tree down the other
Right.
day. I cut limb. Well, you wind up with little sawdust particles inside. They get in there a little bit, but you just blow them out or something. Well, I don't want frozen salmonella-laden turkey particles in my Sawzall. So how do I get that out?
I didn't say you were keeping it.
Oh. Well, I'm just wondering, now you got to sanitize a power tool with little...
You take the battery. Believe it or not, most battery-powered things can be washed.
Oh, now here we go. Now we're getting...
Take
Are
the
you
battery.
sure about this? I'm not...
I've done it.
Okay.
I've done it. You're all right. Do not do anything we have described in the last 5 minutes.
Did we give a disclaimer for
Yeah,
this?
do not do
okay.
any of this.
All right.
But but a lot of things that are battery powered, if you take the batteries out, can be sanitized and cleaned and then let dry.
Okay.
And it may take a week for them to dry completely, and then you can pop the battery back in, and chances are pretty good it'll actually work.
See, what I was going to say is, I know that I've taken things and put them in the sun. We know that the sun can kill bacteria. I was thinking, what if you just put your Sawzall in direct sunlight for like 8 hours?
No.
That
Then
won't
you're
do
just
it?
going to have dried turkey up in there.
Or it might cook it.
You're making
Maybe you bake your Sawzall.
you're making turkey jerky you don't want.
All right, so if you're going to use your reciprocating saw to cut a turkey in half, be aware of the
Yeah,
side
be aware.
effects.
There are things you don't want to do, and please don't use the blade that you used on the tree.
See, I think I would use a my go-to would have probably been like a rip saw or something like that. But that sounds like a lot of exercise, but at least you can clean it
And none of
afterwards.
these are good ideas, ladies and gentlemen. Once again,
These are emergencies
emergencies only. And yes, I have even seen chainsaws used on frozen sides of beef that, they forgot to take out the day before. And
well, we know that they have band saws and things like that at the
we use band saws in a butcher shop.
Right.
All the time.
Those are powerful saws.
All right, dude, here's the shocking news. A lot of times when you are actually disassembling an animal, when you're doing the butchering,
Disassemble.
they use sawzalls and
Right.
they use band saws quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because it is easier, especially when you're doing, you're having somebody, like maybe you bought a cow
Right.
and you're having it butchered. You never met the cow, you just bought it. And they're going to deliver the meat to you.
Right.
I got news for you. That cow's going to have met a sawzall and a bandsaw before it gets to you.
Okay.
But they are used exclusively in meat production.
They have their
the
own
meat
way
industry.
of
Right.
sanitizing.
They
the
will be
things.
cleaned and sanitized. Yes.
Okay, well there you go. Allan's turkey tips. You're partial to the demolition blade, but you in a pinch will use the 12-inch pruning blade.
I have done both. Yes.
Okay.
Again, not a good idea. Don't try this at home. We did not advocate this.
Yeah, don't sue us. So okay, all right. Well, I've got a tool tale. Speaking, boy, the basements and animals are going to play a role in today's show. But I have a tool tale that is a call to action for our listeners because we have a question of the ethics of pets on the job site.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Good news, everyone! I'm in terrible pain.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we've gotten some turkey tips from Allan that we are not advocating, and we're not even telling you to do it, and he's not even admitting that he did this because probably for legal reasons.
So I
don't
was
sue
told.
us.
So I was told. Yeah.
Exactly. So and got into our must-have item of the week. We're in a moment. We're going to get to a tool tale / listener question. It's about the ethics of pets on the job site. So, but before we get to that, let's talk about our friends over at Groundworks, which actually I believe we're going to tap. Some of these themes are going to overlap with what they do here shortly. But Groundworks is all about the protection of the foundation of your home, which of course every foundation is a little different. Even if you live in a neighborhood where all your homes are built the same. Depending on if you're on a hill or if you're on the bottom of a hill, where your elevation, you might have a slab or a basement or a crawl space, and they all have their own dynamics, and they all need to be healthy and functioning. And so, Groundworks, they are all about helping you determine also if you have a healthy foundation, because sometimes foundation problems can manifest themselves in ways that aren't obvious right away. You might have a sagging or bouncy floor, or you might have drainage that's not working properly around your house. Maybe you have water that's gathering in weird places. Maybe you have stair-step cracks in the bricks going up the side of your home. Any of these can indicate a problem with your foundation. So the thing to do is you want to get in touch with Groundworks. They come out. It's a free inspection, so it's a no-brainer. I mean, they come out. They bring their detecting equipment. They do a comprehensive study of your foundation, and then they sit down with you and they show you what they found. And hopefully, what they found is that you have a great foundation and there's no problem. But if you do have problems, they can help you from the smallest to a full rebuild. They're fully equipped. Allan has seen their facility, and it's pretty darn impressive down there. So, but don't wait. Get in touch because because foundation problems never get better with age. And being a responsible homeowner means having a healthy foundation. So get in touch with our friends at Groundworks. You can call them at 901-459-2290 or go to groundworks.com and book your free inspection today. All right. Well, guys, we have a tool tale.
And now, Tool Tales with Tool Talk Radio,
which we just introduced twice. So, all right, well, whatever. Well, here's a question. So my wife was sent me, she gets these videos. Everybody does. I mean, but depending on your feed, you get different things on your social media. This looked legit, Alan. It didn't look like AI. This looked like an actual video. So what happened was a woman was showing off her newly remodeled bathroom. She goes, here's the tile, here's the shower feature, whatever. But then on the back of the wall behind the tub, which most, folks, you should know that if you have a bathtub, there's usually an access panel, at least there should be, on the wall behind it, because you never know. Somebody might have to get in there and do the plumbing. And so generally speaking, you have an access port there. These guys didn't put one. They just sheetrocked right over the wall there. Well, about a day into this woman started wondering where her cat went. She was looking for her cat for like 2 days. She thought the thing wandered off. And she came near the bathroom and she heard she heard the meowing. This is 3 days into this. She thought maybe the cat has a history of walking off. I don't know. Well, what she found was she or somebody cut a hole into the sheetrock and out pops this cat from behind the bathtub. Because, folks, you should know your bathtub is hardly solid. There's all sorts of areas where if you tap the side of your bathtub, it's basically got around the entire perimeter. There's plenty of space for a cat or a squirrel or mice or a raccoon
possum,
or anything.
skunk. Yeah.
Well, she was livid, obviously. She was like, oh, my gosh. But she was right away, going on a rant about the contractors. But then, and I'm like, okay, as a contractor, you probably should have been aware that a cat came in. But then I started thinking about it. If you're on a job site and it's noisy and a cat were to sneak in and go to the very back side of that tub, how would you know it's in there? You know what I mean? So it's like, my question for the audience is basically, who's at fault here? Is it the homeowner or is it the contractor?
It's the cat.
Okay. Well,
It's the cat.
You can't sue the cat, but what do you think here? Because I want your opinion on this. But
Well, I have exactly the exact same case with a cat on a job site right now.
Okay.
Who thinks he lives there because he's come and gone and come and gone. And at the end of the day, we have to play Where is the Cat?
Well, do you have to play? Shouldn't the homeowner
I'm not
be
locking
keeping
him in there so he can mess with my tools and make a kitty mess on my floor. The cat is not. He has been locked in the building accidentally once.
Okay.
But yeah, no, we have to play. We have to play Where's the Cat? The best place we found him was we had a tool table set up, and we had thrown a drop cloth over it.
Yeah.
Because we'd been working around it, doing some stuff on the ceiling. And we found him under the table in the drop cloth, rolled up.
Okay.
He had gotten up in there and was snoozing and cruising. He was not paying us any attention. And we're cutting walls. We're doing sheetrock. We're sanding all around him.
Yeah.
Nobody had any idea he was in there. But we'd seen him come in the house earlier that day, and nobody could tell me he'd left.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, no. Everybody back in the house, we're finding this stupid cat. And we finally, I flipped the table over, and he's looking at me like, yeah, what's up, dude?
Yeah.
You know.
All right. Well, but you were responsible. You said, okay,
right.
I'm aware there's a cat on this job. So
if you went to lunch, the minute it was quiet in there, he wants to know what you were doing.
Right.
And he went.
Most cats are very curious. I know our cat Victor, like anytime we're doing something new, he wants right in on it. When I cut the ceiling open, he found a way to jump up in there.
Yep.
And
if you hadn't been going, Victor, get out of there,
right.
You'd have locked him in the attic.
But here's the other thing about this, because I've worked in a lot of homes, and I've had my drop cloths for years. I mean, I get a lot of use out of them. I don't know what it is, Alan, but cats and dogs love the drop cloth. You could be working and they want to be on that drop cloth. There's something about the texture, or maybe are they smelling other animals or something? Or because I never wash them. I mean, I just throw them down.
It's something new.
Is that what it is?
It's different, and it's a texture.
Okay.
And they can really get their little nails in it.
Yeah.
And they can hang on to it, because we went to throw him out one day and he wouldn't let go. So we ended up carrying him out upside down on the drop cloth. Just put him in the front yard.
Well, I would say,
My rule, if it's somebody's pet, while we're working, your pet is gone.
But that's
I
what
cannot
I think
be
too.
responsible.
Shut the door.
I
Get the
cannot
thing.
be
Right.
responsible.
Right.
Because your dog is going to get stepped on.
Yeah.
The parakeet is going to get loose and fly out the window. So whatever it is you tell me that animal won't do, it's going to do it.
Yeah, because
my dog has, my favorite one, my dog has never bitten anyone ever.
Oh.
Well, I got news for you. He's not going to like my delivery guy from XYZ Hardware, and is going to go on a beeline for my supplies.
Yeah.
All right, for all of you people that are pet owners that think your pet is a human and has human-like intelligence, it ain't. I don't mean to be mean, but put your critter up, or it's gonna get hurt or killed or lost or let out.
Or trapped behind a bathtub.
Or you're gonna seal it up in a wall. And if you don't think, I mean, all you gotta do is think like a 3-year-old. Anybody that's had a child will tell you, you take your eyes off a 3-year-old for 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
And they have painted a wall.
Or just the cask of Amontillado.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yep.
But a critter, a personal critter on a job site is definitely a liability.
Okay. All right. Well, then, so that's your. I feel like I was in agreement with that, because at first I was on the lady's side, and then I thought about it. I'm like,
Nope.
And then I'm like, okay, how do you let your cat be missing for 3 days before? I mean, I would notice if my, I don't know, unless it's an animal that has a lot of free range and comes
No,
and
it's a
goes
cat.
as it
It's going to
wants.
bug you right at 4:30 when it's dinner time. It's going to be there.
Okay.
No, I mean, I love animals. I've had, Lord have mercy, I've had nearly an entire zoo for pets at some point or another.
Yeah.
And really, honestly, you just have to bite the bullet and go put them in the box and get them out of the way. Because you're trying to do stuff. You don't want your little fur baby or fish baby or feather baby to get harmed.
Okay. Well, if you're out there and you've been on and you've done remodeling at your house, or if you have an opinion, because I wonder if there's a legal precedent for this, or if this, I couldn't tell by this lady's tone whether she's going to try to sue the guy or not. But
she'll lose because you can't control a cat.
And can a cat live for 3 days without water?
Oh,
was
easy.
it licking the pipe or something? Because there's probably moisture on the outside.
He has access to the entire inside wall of the thing. They'll live in there for a while.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's
but you definitely want to get them
hungry
out, because we've pulled raccoons, possums, and I hate to say it, in the spring and baby season.
Yeah.
When critters have found a way into your attic, the babies have a way of falling down in between the walls.
Okay, well, here you go. So, okay. Well, that's our opinion, but we'd love to hear your opinion as well. So get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, 901-683-0989. All right, well, when we come back, we're going to find out what Allan did this week.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Sorry about the mess. I've really let the place go since you killed me. By the way, thanks for that.
Sarcasm self-test complete.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Max has weird rejoiners. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. We're with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com. And our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we want to remind you that today is National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. So if it's getting kind of ripe in there, or if that thing in the back that you don't even know what it is anymore,
if it
the
actually
Tupperware
waved at you,
container,
it's time to let it go.
Get rid of it. So, and we've been giving some turkey tips. We've been pretty wide ranging, but now let's shift gears, Max. Oh, there you go.
Oh, the humanity.
we're going to find out what Allan did this week. So hopefully it was something edifying and something enjoyable, but it doesn't sound.
Well, one was a new bathroom construction and the decision-making process of picking hardware.
Wait, I hope you stay out of that, don't you? I stay way clear of that.
All right. Well, all right. I got invited into the process.
Yeah.
And I got invited into it, and it was kind of like, all right, we're thinking this way or this way. And I was kind of like, all right, let's just take a picture. Take a picture. Bloop. All right, let's look at the picture and look at the rest of your house.
Yeah.
You have small fixtures throughout the entire rest of your house.
Okay. Yeah.
And they went, oh, okay, we see what you're saying. I said, all right, so if you go with these, selection A, the Prince Charles, life-size statue handles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not going to work. This is just not going to work in your kitchen because nothing else in your house is on this scale.
Wait, a kitchen or bathroom?
This was a kitchen.
Oh, okay.
But we went and looked at the rest of the house. Look at the rest of your furniture. Look at the bathroom. Look at what you are basically accustomed to and have chosen in the past. All right, I know this new one over here is big and shiny, but it's not really you. And they went with selection B. And it was like, okay, all right. So this is a little test on shiny versus function.
Well, we know where you land with that.
Yeah,
You're never going to go for the cool looking thing.
I am always going to land on function.
Yeah.
Now, you can have some amazingly cool looking stuff that's functional. And that is actually ultimately what the homeowner chose.
Yeah.
They did choose a really nice, very classic looking, it was a dark bronze imprinted metal look, but it wasn't huge. So
it wasn't going to snag your pants every time you walk by.
You know what? That is exactly the point I made about the drawers because they had those long handles sticking out to the sides.
Yep. Those things always hit your belt loop or your
I said, you
pocket.
are just asking for bruises.
Yeah.
You're going to rip your cabinet clear off the wall walking through here wearing a pair of blue jeans.
Yep.
So, that made good sense, and they went sensibly with things that weren't going to do that. And I got to tell you, the look of the kitchen just upgraded so much with something as simple as just changing out the hardware.
You know what's interesting about changing the hardware in a kitchen too is it's one of these. It could be a $200 upgrade, or it could be literally like a $1,500 upgrade, depending on which hardware you choose. It could be $15 a handle or $3 a handle.
But it's a no demo reno.
Yeah.
You didn't have to destroy anything. You didn't have to tear anything out. And if these were the knobs that you had with the kids,
yeah,
let's face it, they're loose. They don't tighten. They've been beat up. They've probably been chewed on a little bit. Who knows? But just changing out the hardware, just making a simple little choice like that. And again, you don't have to break the bank. You don't have to go do a big remodel on the kitchen if the kitchen functions fine.
Okay.
So that worked out really, really good. So that was a happy one. The second thing we did was replacing, and I gotta admit, that was some janky looking quarter round.
Okay.
The previous owners had pets, and they had, for some reason, the dog really didn't like the quarter round. I
don't even know how a dog can chew on the quarter. I guess it
was scratched up.
Oh, okay.
They'd been scratching in the corners and stuff. And
yeah.
It was pretty janky looking, and again, another no demo reno. Now quarter round is a little bit of a pain because you're down on your knees and you got to get the angles right.
Mm-hmm. You got to find something to nail into
and you gotta use the little Brad shooter or whatever to get it in there right. And it was a little bit of work, but it turned out pretty good.
Okay.
And the other one was keep the critters out of the basement.
Okay, that's what I was wondering because
that's the one you're waiting
with
on.
The story. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one you're waiting on. Go down in the basement, and of course, the words are, I love it when people go, we hear things down here.
Yeah.
You go, oh, I know why I'm on this job. Okay. You think you got, Weird Uncle Fred is still haunting the place. Well, he's not.
Yeah.
Weird Uncle Fred might have had a cat that's haunting it, or a raccoon, or a skunk, or a possum, or, Of last year, we had an outbuilding with a huge pile of leaves in the corner.
Oh, big no-no.
There was a
pile
window
things
that
against
had
your
been
house.
broken out next to it, so it looked like the leaves had piled in. No, they hadn't. And I was in a hurry, and somebody says, hey, we got to get this, we got to grab that. And I was like, great, fine. So I just reached over and grabbed this big old pile of leaves, and about halfway out the door, something warm and furry wound up in my hand. And I will say this for old Mr. Possum. He was just as surprised to see me as I was to see him.
It's better than Mr. Raccoon that might have ripped your face off.
I would, you know what? I would almost rather tangle with a raccoon than a possum.
No.
Oh, a possum is, at least possums
They're
are slow.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But he was shocked and surprised because he was sound asleep.
You don't let stuff pile against your house.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's a big no-no.
So, me and Mr. Possum parted ways about 2 foot outside that door.
Jeez.
And I figured something like that was happening with the basement. And sure enough, they have a crawl space. And the door to the crawl space had gotten janky. So we needed to replace that. So we put a new door on it. And we used concrete board to replace the door. So now I don't worry about the door rotting and falling off again.
Oh, right.
So we replaced that with concrete board. And underneath, we went in, and they actually had some of the 2-inch foam insulation still left. They had a sheet of that left.
Oh, yeah.
And what we did was we just cut covers to go around the ventilation pipes, part of the air conditioning.
So that keeps the draft out. I mean, if
kept
a
the draft
motivated critter wanted to, they could chew through that stuff.
They could, but as a general rule, it's a blockade.
Yeah.
And
they're going to look at it and go, okay, we're not going in that
We
way.
got that up, and I mean, the temperature in the basement was immediately stabilized. You no longer had a draft, and a couple of days later, I swung back by to check, and there weren't any new little footy prints going up the side of the wall.
Okay.
Which, by the way, were raccoon prints.
Oh, no, because,
Yeah, so
they're more aggressive. They're going to find a way to stay in, right?
Yeah, well, I think we have eliminated where it got in and where it was going.
And you didn't trap any inside?
We didn't trap any inside. Well, we did it in broad daylight
you
and went through the crawl space and made sure there was nobody down there.
Okay.
So we were pretty happy with that. But the biggest thing, if you do have a basement, it's, right now while the weather's good before winter really sets in, it's probably a good time to put a new coat of UGL or other sealant on it and make sure it's in good shape.
Yeah, because while they're out hunting for food, you got to block them out so they don't come
Get them
back
out of the
in,
creek.
so.
Get them out of the house.
All right, well, hour 1 of Tool Talk Radio is in the can. It's been a pretty wide-ranging series of discussions, but stay tuned, folks, because there's a whole other hour coming up.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And today has been, it's been about animals and basements so far. I mean, that's kind of it's kind of the motif happening. And, of course, we want to remind you that today is National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. I thought there was some other holiday, Max. Bunt cakes.
Yeah.
Okay, what is a bunt cake? I've heard the name, but what actually is it?
It's a pan.
It's a what?
It's a pan.
A bunting pan?
A bunting pan. You are exactly correct.
So what do you make with it?
All right.
I've heard bunt cake, so you got
exactly. Well, it's kind of like the donut of cakes, or the cake of donut.
Okay.
Donuts had a problem as a fried food because the very center would never get cooked completely, sufficiently, and the rest of it would be overcooked.
Is that why they put a hole in the
That's
middle?
why there's a hole in the middle of your donut.
Okay.
So that you get a complete cook all the way through.
Okay.
Well, a bunt pan does much the same thing and creates a very evenly cooked cake that is round with a hole in the middle.
Okay. All right. Well, before we turn this whole show into a food dude segment, we're just telling you that. So we'd love to hear from you about that, especially, but cleaning out your refrigerator.
Especially now, you got a turkey that needs to go in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So, all right. But I've got something to confess here, you guys.
I've called you all here because I need some honest answers.
Oh,
They
brother.
all kind of broke. So, when do I start?
There is a basket of oil-soaked rags above a wood-burning stove.
Are you out of your mind? You put a jet engine on a lawnmower?
This time, they are going to be held accountable. This time, they are the ones who will pay.
All right, Max, we got to shorten your rejoiners, man. These things are getting out of control here. All right, so I'm working on. Boy, the weather has been great. I was working outside the whole day yesterday.
Yes.
It was one of the most, for the middle of November. It's
beautiful.
I was in shorts and a t-shirt. It was really enjoyable. I was working outside, but one of the projects I'm doing for my customer in Midtown is whenever I can, if I can avoid making them call 4 different contractors, if I can just do something, I try to help them. I don't do a ton of concrete work, but I can do enough to get by. So she had a cinder block. Now, this house is 100 years old, but she had a cinder block wall that was kind of covered in like a stucco kind of whatever. So I fixed that. But it also, at the bottom of the bed, of like the flower bed or whatever, it's a pretty big bed. I mean, it's like 30 feet across and everything, but the brick wall was falling apart. Okay. And then there was this corner of the brick wall that we decided to top off with a 12 by 12 paver, whatever, a paving stone. So, okay,
Okay,
whatever.
this isn't that bad.
Okay, so this one paving stone, though, I had to remove it and do something else. And then it was time to put the paving stone back on. And I got this idea. I said, why don't I just get some concrete adhesive in the tube, throw it on there, because I wasn't so sure that, because it already had a layer of mortar, because I already popped the top off once. And I'm like, I don't know. For one thing, I don't want to just keep adding mortar, but I was thinking it probably wouldn't be that strong. So I just I went to the aisle in the big box store, and I was looking at and there's some that I'm more familiar with, but this one was, instead of being $5, it was like $11, and I don't know why, but for some reason I thought I'll get this, and I looked basically at what caught my attention. It says it will stick to wet surfaces, because I thought if there's any residual moisture in there, it'll stick. Well, what I didn't notice is that it said for horizontal surfaces only.
Yeah.
And so what I found was, so I put this stuff on, and I'm like, wow, this is a lot thinner than what I'm used to coming out of a caulking tube. But I'm like, okay, whatever. Yep. So I put it on there. Then I stuck the paving stone on, and then I stuck a heavier cinder block to hold it in place, whatever. Then I went around, and I'm like, well, gosh, I still have like over half a tube of this stuff left. And there were some cracks on the side of the stucco. It was like a stair-step crack, like we talked about. It was a good, probably 10 feet worth of cracks that needed to be filled. I said, well, instead of, because I knew I was going to have to patch that, so I just grabbed that and I patched that with this adhesive. Well, about an hour later, I walked by. And Allan, this stuff was dripping out of running out of everything. Now, I will say it's a great rubberized. It sticks to concrete, but I had to scrape it out. All the extra stuff. Luckily, I got most of it off, but I was like, okay, that was pretty kind of a rookie mistake to make, and I just assumed that the more expensive was better, but that one little thing of horizontal surfaces was a pretty big thing to overlook. So, you ever done that? Not reading the label correctly?
There's a reason I give tours of that aisle at the big box store.
Okay, here we go. Yeah.
Well, all right, in your defense. Yeah. of, man, that aisle's confusing. You really have to think about the number of choices.
There's like 10 different bags of cement to choose from.
Easily.
That's just the cement.
Well,
yeah.
Just dealing in drywall. Well, what's the difference between a blue lid and a green lid? And how many different versions of this? And, there are so many specialized, uses for so much of this stuff. You really have to pay attention.
And there's new products every year.
Constantly. There's new stuff constantly coming out.
And I don't do concrete every day. That's
another,
not my niche,
another one is you just don't get to, you're not doing this stuff every day. You're not using, because you're going to find the guys that do it every day are still using the same products they were using 25 years ago.
Right.
They found what works for them and they stick with it.
Now, in my defense, this stuff's filled that thing is stuck on tight. It made more of a mess than I was ready for. I had to clean it up.
Right.
So, yeah.
It wasn't the best choice, but it wasn't necessarily a bad choice.
Yeah.
It just didn't do what you thought it was going to do. But you just got to be careful with that stuff. There's just so many different kinds. And especially when you're working around specialties, like, the shop, where chemicals are going to be used. Make sure you've got something that's chemical neutral. Or if you're going to be working around the kitchen or a bathroom, make sure that you get the product that is an antimicrobial. There's a lot of little things you need to look at. So, welcome to the scary aisle at the big box store.
The other thing, too, folks, I would say is if you're getting caulk, caulk is not now caulk is one of those. There is no one type of caulk to get. And it's all different price points. And this is one we always preach to spend the extra $3 or $4 and get the really good caulk. It makes a difference.
Yeah.
Don't just go for the cheap stuff. There's times where it doesn't matter that much, but if you want to come back 4 months later and all of the caulk is separating and it's whatever, that's, it's one of those things.
Yeah, when you find a brand name that you like, stick with it.
Yep. So, okay, so that's my confession and whatever. If you've been out there and you've done something like that, feel free to join our confession line. But I thought it was at least, like I said, at least in my defense, it still worked. It just made a big mess. So, okay, now, Allan, we don't have any. I don't know what to set this up with. I don't even know what we'll call this, but I had a remodel done at my house. We teased this last week, in fact. So I thought I wanted to mention this, but it involved getting our HVAC updated, basically. But what I did was there was a company that was really nice about letting me. I saved some money because I can do the demo work myself. We needed a duct run in the living room, so I opened up the ceiling. I did all this myself, but it was about a 2.5 day installation, and I was just really impressed with because you and I are contractors. We do this every day, but it's not often I'm on the other side of this where I wake up and there's a crew of guys showing up ready to come in your house and get to work. But there were a lot of really good business practices that they did on the job. I was very happy with their work, and I thought it was worth going over a few of these things, which for one thing, I would say, okay, I'm looking at my notes here. They were minimally invasive.
Right.
There was, a HVAC system runs through your whole house, but they didn't say, okay, move out, we're taking over your whole house. They tried to work in specific areas. In different, like today we're going to work in this area, so be prepared or whatever. To me, that's a big deal. Have you, have you ever had that where it's like, okay, it's a pretty comprehensive job, but you don't want to just take over the whole place because people still have to live here. So.
When we're doing a job like that, I usually like to give them the phases.
Yeah,
so phase 1 is going to be in here. So I need you and everything out of the way in here. And the other thing, I am Captain Cleanup.
There you go.
Oh, my gosh. I make people crazy because as soon as they are we wrapped? I'm like, all right, you got time to lean, you got time to clean. Here we go.
It's pretty good. That goes on a T-shirt, I think. So, well, there were some good practices that happened, and it's a good opportunity to discuss quality contracting practices. So, all right, so we'll unpack a little bit more of that when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I
assure you, Lord Vader, my men are working as fast as they can.
Perhaps I can find new ways to motivate them.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, he's just trying to help. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, I was talking about a construction project that happened at my own house, and I was so impressed that I wanted to basically just kind of recap and also just showcase some of the really good business practices that this contracting company did. Too bad they're not sponsors, Allan, or I can tell you who they are, but I can't. So, but I wanted to say, so like there was 3 guys on this job. They had all their equipment, very nice, good professional equipment. And this was a fully comprehensive job. Like I said, we're at all different parts of the house, but they made a point of not taking over the entire house. They tried to work in phases. Also, they weren't. They were when they had to talk to each other, they weren't like, oh, right, they were respectfully, they kept their voices down, you could say. One thing I noticed too, well, I wasn't there most of the time. My wife was there, but she pointed out they weren't on their phone all day. No. They were there to get some work done.
Yeah.
If they had to take a phone call, they stepped outside. They weren't, whatever. So that was just cool. But what she also pointed out was that every time there was it's like, okay, they finished for the day. It's like, here's what's going to happen tomorrow. Here's the areas we got to work in. This is it, and so you were always mentally prepared because it's a big deal when your house is getting worked on. I mean, it's an invasive thing, so you want to keep it to a minimum. But what I appreciated too is she told me, because as long as we've done that, I still find the HVAC system very confusing as far as the chemistry and the science and all the all the electronics that go in. And when they were explaining each step, they were very good about breaking it down into. They weren't giving you the $50 word. They were telling you the simple function of this. Right. And do you want this option or do you want this option? It's like, oh, okay, I'll take that. They weren't trying to. How sometimes some technicians or some installers or whatever, they try to make it sound complicated. Right. Maybe because it sounds more expensive or because and so that doesn't help anybody. We don't deal with this stuff every day. So we want the simple explanation to get our head around it. And so, also, I don't know if you remember that episode of Seinfeld when that carpenter bothered him with like every single, do you want this hinge here or do you want he had like 8 million questions and eventually Jerry's just like, just decide for yourself, whatever. So these guys were good about making executive decisions for the minutia, but giving us options when it came to the important steps. So I don't know. It was just nice. It was really enjoyable. They always finish things quicker than they said. They under-promised and over-delivered, that type of thing. So I don't know. It was just nice. It was nice to see good contracting practices at work, man.
No, I always called that the Scotty theorem.
Talk to me. What do you mean? The Scotty
you remember Star Trek?
Oh, yeah, but he had to make it sound like a big deal. He's like, Captain, do you know what it's going to entail?
Well, but it was like the second or third movie where Kirk called him out on it.
Yeah.
Kirk looks at him and goes, so Scotty, I've got to have those engines. And of course, Scotty's like 24 hours. Right. And Kirk's like, you got 6. Right. And Scotty's like, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Because later in the movie, he's like, Scotty, I'm not going to do the imitations here. They're terrible. But he's like, Scotty, do you always multiply your repair estimates by a factor of 4? Mm-hmm. And he goes, of course I do. How else am I going to maintain my reputation as a miracle worker?
Right. It's like, Captain, this is going to take 15 hours or whatever. Then he gets it done in 3.
And
good old Scotty.
It's never a bad thing. And I will regress back to my days as a computer instructor. And my class, I promised them a little extra trick at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If we could get done. So let's pay attention and let's not be flumming around. Let's get done. So we get down to the very, very end of the day, and they had built a tracking system, and I was going to show them how to do the recap. And we did it, and I'm like, okay, magic trick, nothing's up my sleeve. Click the little button. Let's see if your program worked. And it did. And this one woman became absolutely, and I'm looking for a good word, because it wasn't hysterical. I think it was more like possessed.
Okay.
And she looked at me and she's like, you meant I just spent 6 weeks of my life doing this by hand.
Oh,
and this thing could have done this for me in 15 seconds.
Oh, boy.
And I'm kind of like, well, and I'm going to, and I mean, I say that to agree with your contractors, because when you've got the proper tool and the proper training and the proper experience, 15-hour jobs become hour jobs.
Yeah.
And it really shows dramatically. And I'm going to advocate, because twice yesterday at a big box store, I had a similar experience shopping, because they had already bulked up for like the big surge this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Because, they got all the different stuff out that,
Right.
They don't
all
normally
the Christmas
carry.
stuff's out.
Right.
Yeah.
And, but they were all, thank you for coming in. It's so good to see you. It's been, I was like, am I in the right store? I'm looking around. So, I mean, the experience.
Sounds like their regional manager was in town.
Yeah, it sounded like corporate was in the store or something. But, but, a good practice, ease and confidence on the contractor's part really helps the client feel confident that we're doing the right thing and getting this done.
Well, the thing is, we've already given these guys names out to 3 or 4 other people. As a matter of fact, my wife is at a job. Her friend needs some work done, and she asked my wife to be a part of the estimate, because she's already familiar, and she's so she was over there, and it was the same thing, just the estimate process. She had 2 companies come out. This other company was doing the old thing of the $50 word thing, and I'm going to have to rip this out, and I'm going to have to do this, and the big overselling. And these other guys came in with very reasonable ideas and very, cost-effective ideas.
Looked at you and went, all right, there's 2 ways we can do this.
Right.
Let me tell you how it's going to get done.
Right.
There you go.
Right. And also pointed out things that I appreciate. They also pointed out things of, well, look, if we did this $200 repair, you could still get 2 more years out of this thing and plan for this, down the road or something. So that's what I look for in a contractor. You want honest communication, and those are the guys that are going to get all the referrals and everything. So
that reminds me of this silly quote that I read on the back from a notable grocery store.
Yeah.
The most important thing we sell is peace of mind.
That's not the worst quote in the world, honestly. That's a pretty big deal. So, yeah. But anyway, it was worth. I was very happy. I wish I could tell you the company, but I can't. But
that's
good
all
guys.
right.
Yeah. So, hey, speaking of good guys, let's before we go to break, let's talk about our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling. Because you talk about sound business practices. We love Jay. Jay's a great dude.
We do.
He's a little overdue for a visit here.
He
probably
is.
busy.
He is. We need to get him in here.
He's probably enjoying this nice weather, getting these roofs done. But Jay is all about the exterior protection of your home, from roofing to gutters to siding to windows. For one thing, Jay is always 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau, which is that's not easy to do. He in Good Housekeeping. He's a GAF Master Elite Installer. And if you look, he is one of the top-ranked roofers in this entire region, and with good reason. He for one thing, these are roofing systems that are going in here. So it's all about installing something that's gonna. It not only does it protect your home, it adds value to your home. And these things are so well engineered that they lower your energy costs. It makes your roof run more efficiently. And these roofing systems offer lifetime transferable warranties. GAF stands behind what they do, and they're always innovating. They've always got the best materials. But Jay also is, like we said, he's all about roofing, gutters, siding, and windows. These are all systems that work harmoniously together to protect your home. He also does interior and exterior remodeling, but don't ask him to remodel your kitchen. He doesn't want to do that. So, but when Jay, the other thing that sets Jay apart is the fact that he's a former insurance agent, which is a big deal, especially today. If you have damage to your home that may be covered by your homeowner's insurance, sometimes that's a very complicated process. So Jay really should be the first person you call. He's going to come out. It's a free estimate. He's going to look at the damage with you. And if there is a path forward to have your homeowner's insurance take care of this, he can help you with that entire process. It's a big deal. He's helped Allan. He's helped me. He's helped friends of ours with this. And he takes something that's very daunting and scary and turns it into an exciting prospect. And Jay just brings an energy and optimism to every job that we really appreciate. And he also keeps his overhead low so that his prices are very competitive. So you're going to love talking to Jay Hill, and he always wants you to call him directly. So get in touch with Jay. You can reach him at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. All right, Allan, this is going to be interesting. When we come back, we're in our great moments in building history. We're not going to actually talk about real structures. We're going to talk about theoretical architecture.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Are you aware that your bathroom faucet is leaking?
Are you kidding me? I just stuffed a sock in it yesterday. What else do they want me to do?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I mean, everybody knows you do a towel for that one, Allan. Rookie mistake. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. We're with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And there may be some people, Allan, that are they're just tuning in. They don't realize that today is National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day, or they missed all of the dynamic conversation about invading creatures under construction sites, and they're just kicking themselves. They're like, man, I wish there was some way to catch up on all these past episodes of Tool Talk Radio. Well, you have an answer, right, sir?
I do indeed. They can join us in the wonderful world of podcasting. All they got to do is pop over to tooltalkradio.com, and they can follow us along on Spotify, YouTube, and pretty much any place where you get your podcast from. Happily for them, there is honestly years and years of content up there.
Yeah.
We've been given dubious advice for a very long time.
Well, and if I had one criticism of some of these listeners, because the nice thing is when you're on the internet, you can listen from anywhere, is we still want to hear from some of our listeners in like New Zealand or Norway or some of these.
Well, we're in places like Romania, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, so we have a very large international listening community, and we would really, really like to see some pictures. And what are your, home ownership and building challenges where you live?
Yeah, I mean, because think of that. We think, okay, I'm working in Midtown. We have a home that I might be working on a home that's 100 years old. Wow. Well, some of our listeners, they might be living in a home that's 500 years old.
They very well might, yes.
And what are your plumbing challenges in there? How did you retrofit the electricity and all that? We want to know.
And what do you do with a boa constrictor in the pool?
Exactly. If you're in Australia and you got boa constrictors coming in through your toilet, we want to know what that's like. So, and how you prevent that. But anyway, good to. So at least it's reassuring to know that if you missed anything, you can listen again. So
we are there.
All right, Max. Here we go, man.
And now, great moments in building history.
All right. So I think we're all okay. So in great moments in building history, instead of talking about necessarily structures that were built, we're talking about somebody that inspired. Well, he's still inspiring. And we're calling him basically a theoretical architect. And I'm going to butcher his name, but it's Étienne-Louis Boullée. That's how I'm pronouncing it.
Étienne-Louis Boullée.
Boullée. Okay. That's as close as I'm getting probably. But he was Allan, he was born in 1728.
Yes.
And he died in 1799. He didn't quite make it to 1800. But when you look at the work, what I was stunned by when I look at this stuff looks like science fiction out of like the 1920s or something. This does not look 200 and something years old. This is he was almost really ahead of his time. So, but anyway, we wanted to talk about that because he inspired a lot of people, and he had interesting concepts about architecture that we're still developing today, and and some of his work has already been some of his ideas are already being implemented, but he had some interesting things to say about architecture. So we're going to round table some of that today. So I'm throwing it to you, Allan,
okay.
Unless you want me to. I've got my notes here, but I know you got your notes too.
Well, we'll start with what he did build that you can still go see, and that is the Hotel Alexandre. and it is a true neoclassical. Of his point of view was that most of the things being built at that time were transient, aka they weren't going to last.
So he built it with the idea that this thing's not going to be here forever.
Well, at this time, there's a big fascination with 1,000 years ago because, it's still standing. We'll just go Romans and Greeks and a lot of the European stone structures still around.
It's still there. So
they're still around.
They're doing something right. Yeah.
And his idea was that it was the geometry, not necessarily the materials or where or when, but it was geometry.
Right.
Of at this time, math is becoming a big thing. Science is becoming a big thing. We're sneaking up on 1800. So we're in a little bit of the Industrial Revolution where new products and new ideas are happening. And here comes Mr. Boullée, who goes, yeah, I like the new stuff, but what if we took the neoclassical, a.k.a. the classical, but let's make it new? And the Hotel Alexandrie is a good example because you look at it, you can automatically see Greek classical.
Mm-hmm.
You see the arches. You see the ballast. You see the way things were supported 1,500 years ago, not necessarily 300 years ago.
Yeah.
And the Hotel Alexandrie is still standing and still looks good.
Yeah.
Now,
no, I mean, that's a nice, reasonable structure. Also, we should say he was a teacher. He was a very, apparently he was a very good teacher, too.
Well, and that is where he really kicks in.
Yeah.
So he builds a few things. He lays out a few ideas, but then he gets a job as a teacher.
Right.
And that is where I'm going to say his mind really expanded, and he really, really got into geometry. Because he, at this point, said, a building should speak to you.
Well, I was interested in that quote because also he was very interested in the emotional reaction that human beings have to shapes and
Exactly.
or to being inside of a volume of space or to being and that's cool to think about because architecture is a really unique art form. I mean, I'm calling it an art form.
Oh, it is. Very
And
much so.
He was of the opinion that architecture could actually be a positive moral influence in a culture. Like, in other words, a really inspiring part of the community if it's a building that everybody uses. Like he had this idea for a performing, I don't know if you call it a performing arts center or an arena that holds 300,000 people. It's
Yes.
like, and people would gather and they'd watch demonstrations or they'd watch sports or they watch art, and I'm like, or his Hall of Justice or his theater or things like that. But they were done. But the thing about him is everything he did was big. Like these
Right.
are huge structures that at the time weren't, nobody, they didn't have the technology to build them. But also, Allan, correct me if I'm wrong, we didn't have skyscrapers in the 1770s or anything.
Oh,
Did we even have anything comparable to a skyscraper in
cathedral?
Europe? Yeah. I mean, but
Notre
even
Dame.
then, that's nothing. Like, he had this idea for building a sphere that was going to be taller than the pyramids.
Okay,
A sphere. I mean,
all right.
just,
And it wasn't even anything practical. It was just a cenotaph, which is a
Yeah.
monument to Isaac Newton.
He
Yes.
thought big, though.
Well, but if you look at his drawings and you squint just a little bit, and let me add 100 years to that picture,
Yeah.
you are going to start seeing the shapes of a Ferris wheel. You're going to start seeing the
now that's
shapes
interesting.
of a certain tower
Yeah, yeah.
by
yeah,
a guy
yeah.
named Eiffel.
Right,
You're-
right.
So a lot of the theoretical ideas that he put forward were indeed waiting on the materials to come along. But
Oh, that's right, because this is before I-beams and steel and everything.
Bingo, because
there you go.
It was the later generations, about 100 years later, when we really started getting into steel, lifting, and we started getting into electricity, that a lot of what he's drawn, neoclassically, the sweeping shapes, how they're supported, they're very classical, but now instead of using stone and being limited by the weight of the stone, now you could take his designs and use the lighter metals.
Right.
Which gave you the strength and the ability to get that custom shape.
Yeah.
So now suddenly Boullée's ideas and his structures, when you go back and you look at what he built, you look at like the Elise Palace, you look at the Hotel Alexandrie, and then you look at something like the project for the Metropole, where it was almost like half a pyramid.
Yeah, like they
and
cut
it was
the
very
top off.
cool looking.
Right.
And then you look at, I don't know, the Modern Museum of France, the Louvre, which looks shockingly like the project for Metropole, but it's made out of glass and metal instead of stone and stonework.
Well, the guy was a great artist too, because these drawings are beautiful. Like they're really, they look way ahead of their time. And it's funny because you talked about the Ferris wheel and some other things. One of the reasons his stuff looks so futuristic is because later in the future, we started seeing structures like this, but
we
never
started
quite
building
to
them.
this scale. But yeah,
Right.
He had big ambitions and everything too. But I liked, he was also, Max, I think you could say he was a minimalist because
he was also very brutalist.
Yeah, is his brutalist because he didn't want extra ornamentation.
He wanted the shapes to speak for it.
Yeah, the shape did the talking.
As Catherine the Great once remarked, she didn't like all the whipped cream on the building.
Yeah, there you go. I agree.
He agreed.
So he was ahead of his time because back then, this is when people are wearing powdered wigs and all that. He said, no, the future is minimal. So
And guillotines and stuff like that.
there we go. So we're going to talk some more about this groundbreaking architect when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Brought to you by Elephant in the Room Pet Therapy. Emotional health experts agree that having a pet in your life can be beneficial. And naturally, the bigger the problems you have, the bigger the pet you will need. So if you're feeling emotionally fragile, consider bringing an elephant into your home. Elephant in the Room Pet Therapy, the big solution to your big problems.
All right, thanks. Finally, a good something quality, Max. I like that. And the logic is sound to me. Why not? I mean, yeah. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and the very astute and timely Max over there behind the glass. If you're just tuning in our Great Moments in Building History, we're more or less saluting, instead of an actual structure, this architect did build some structures, but mostly what he's known for are the drawings and the ideas that he left us as what you might say a theoretical architect. He was a French architect who lived from 1728 to 1799 named Étienne-Louis Boullée. That's as close as I can get to pronouncing his name correctly. But his drawings are fascinating. Go down, just Google it. His drawings look way, way ahead of their time. And he had some interesting ideas about architecture that I think the technology wasn't there when he lived. And I don't think society was ready for some of his ideas. But in time, you've seen his influence everywhere. But Allan, among other things, two things I want to ask you about. He thought that the sphere was the most pleasing shape in architecture, which I think is an interesting proposal. But he also said you talked about talking architecture, and he wanted it. He was trying to build structures where when you walked up to it, you knew what it was. Like, okay, that's the Hall of Justice, or that's the theater, or that's the he was building a temple and things like that. So, what do you think of some of those ideas? Because the sphere is what I find interesting.
Well, again, you have to go back to his neoclassical roots, in which the arch was the grand invention that means so many roads and bridges survived from Greek classical to Roman to, the ensuing centuries, and it's a round feature.
Right.
And so he's taking that geometry a couple of steps further. And when you begin looking at, especially out of church building up to his time, the way to get the structure bigger and grander was to put in more and more windows so you disperse the weight.
But when he said pleasing, what I liked about it is it's nice to look at. It's cool to look at a dome or a curve or the actual sphere that he designed.
And that is because it has that smooth, less jagged appearance. There are no sharp edges.
Like a planet. I mean, planets are round.
If you look at most of his drawings, you'll notice that a lot of we're going to say a lot of Gothic influences are not there. There's not places for your guards to be put. We don't have spires. We don't have spiky, sharp objects. What we have are very classical squares, rectangles, a lot of triangular slopes that end in something soft and rounded.
Yeah.
So when you begin following the geometry of what he's doing, this is actually from an architect class of a friend of mine that taught architecture, would give you one of those little how to draw shapes things, the little thing you got when you're, in your school kit.
Right.
And he would give you paintings or drawings like this and say, start breaking it down.
Yeah.
You could just move that around and see how he used the arches and the circles and the spheres to create magnificent drawings that are actually structurally sound.
Yeah.
Speaking to stuff like that, maybe somewhat of a brief aside, but speaking of soundness, I want to get to a thing that he developed with regards to safety that I thought was very innovative. Boullée, when he was theorizing the construction of a theater with stone, it was already naturally fireproof. And the only flammable materials therein were on the stage itself. But to accommodate for that, he had this massive water system underneath so that if the planks were to combust, so to say, they would fall down into the water area and extinguish. And Boullée was so confident with his work that he was like, I'll personally light the set on fire to test the fireproofness of my theater.
And that theater was huge, and it had all these exits that were strategically placed where you could actually evacuate. Because people weren't always thinking about safety back then. OSHA didn't exist back then. And it's interesting, theaters, especially because they're full of candle. That's how they would have lit it back in the day.
You remember the movie Amadeus.
Yeah. So, but also he said he had this idea that, like Allan said, a structure should speak to you, but like he, for example, you look at something and you should know what it is. But one thing that was interesting is he also used shadows in terms of as part of the design. Like I hate to say it, I think it's the Hall of Justice where the jails would have been and things like that. And it's very brutalist, and there's all these menacing shadows that are just naturally a part of it because when you build it with all these recessed areas in it. So if you were walking up to that you look at it and you go, I don't want to go to that place.
Although it's actually kind of ironic that he developed something like that because this is post-French Revolution, and one of the symbols is the storming of the Bastille. But you're essentially creating another Bastille.
So where do you think he landed on the French? Whose side would he have been on in the French Revolution?
I think he's on the French Revolution side.
Is he on the wrong side? Okay.
No, he's post this, but the biggest idea to all of this was you also have to remember his original training was that of a painter.
Oh, I didn't know that because he's a great artist.
He started as a painter and moved I think it was his father that was an architect or wanted him to be an architect. I don't remember his history exactly. But he started out as a painter with a painter's training and then moved into architecture. So he brought with him a skill set far beyond just drawing the lines and measuring the weights.
Yeah, because these are pieces of art. I mean, these drawings that he left behind are you could frame them and hang them up.
So that is why much, and I'll pick on artists before him that left theoretical designs waiting on somebody else to come along and go, that's pretty neat. Now that we have aluminum, now that we have steel, now that we have, more imaginative ways of bringing these things to light, and occasionally the brutalism of less is more gets really, really exemplified.
It's interesting, though, to think of, because when we think of something, we think of, well, I'm gonna do this so that I can build this thing today and tomorrow. But it's interesting to think in terms of being somebody that you're designing something for the future and having a mindset of what's coming next. I don't know. I mean, I think part of the reason he had the luxury to do this is because he was still earning a living as a teacher. So these were probably teaching instruments. That'd be a pretty cool class to be a part of. Somebody,
well, I mean, but you can see his stuff even in modern stuff. Like if you go to New York City and go to the Javis Center, you will see a cross between his ideas and Eiffel's, brought to full life today.
Well, it's definitely a rabbit hole worth going down. There's some really interesting videos. This guy he was brilliant, and his impact is still being felt today. So Étienne-Louis Boullée, and check him out and let us know what you think. But Allan, the show has just evaporated before our ears. It's time to get out of here. So you've been listening to another wide-ranging episode of Tool Talk Radio. So on behalf of my buddy Allan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Now go clean your fridge.